Exercise 6. In this exercise, this was actually a request from someone online who was wondering how to model a rather complex part that was used for essentially safety gear. And so I tried to do it inside ViaCAD 2D 3D, which is the $99 version. And it's unfortunately it's a little weak for it. I suspect it can be done. Um, Unfortunately, I just don't have enough time and resources to complete it. But this is kind of what I was just playing with a little bit here. But let me just step through some of the things that I went through to create that. I'm going to start a new part file here, and I'm going to turn on my work plane. I'm going to show my grid, and I'm going to go to File, Import, and find a similar product out there. And I could import JPEGs here. So find the photo, take this on your smartphone or wherever, and just take a picture of something. And what's really pretty cool about this is that you could go ahead and click on the corner or edge of it, of the image, and now you could relocate it and move it. Before you want to do that though, I'm just going to leave that over here for a second. Turn it off. You want to scale it, so you would take a measuring tape or a ruler, and you could go ahead and or something much more detailed than those. But you could just start here at the origin and drag out a line. Sure, it's vertical, and this is your height. So what I could do here is with that selected, let's say I took a measurement and this was 9 inches. So I can type in 9 inches and enter. Okay, and so I have basically my scale, what I have to get this line to. So I'm going to click on this, and also with the image you can change it to semi-transparent. Transparent, unfortunately, I haven't found a way to set it any higher or lower. So it'd be nice if I could set it much lower, but anyhow, it still works all right. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that over here. I'm going to try and line it up as best as I can. Now, what I discovered, actually, let me turn off the work plane here, the grid, I should say. What I discovered when using this and trying to model this particular model was rather challenging for a number of reasons. But also that the model was itself not symmetric, at least with the print that was provided. I should say the image. See, to rotate this, you just grab this little arc, and you can straighten it out, drag it over, try and line it to that line that we have there. Bring it up, and you can probably scale it. The little blocks, the yellow blocks, allow you to scale it. Gripper, there is like an adjustment somewhere how to make it smaller. Anyhow, no, that's close enough. Alright, we can see our blue line in the center. Now, because it's not symmetric, I'm not able to actually mirror it over. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm just going to go with an interpolate spline, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off my, actually I'm going to get started on this endpoint here, but then I'm going to disable the snaps just while I go around, because it does get a little goofy when you try and get a line. So let's try and trace around the geometry. Follow it as closely as you can, and I'm going to turn on enable again just to snap to that endpoint, then disable it. Bring it around. And essentially what we're doing here is a little bit of reverse engineering using an image, which is not always very accurate, but it could get you pretty close. Okay, so there we have our profile. Okay, if you wanted to tweak it at all, you can always right click on geometry and show points. Then you're able to actually, you can't actually click on the points very well, but if you drag a fence around them, then you're able to use this little tool to adjust them. We'll just get it in a little bit better. Okay, good enough. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to extrude that. So let me make sure you don't have anything selected. Go to the extrude button. Now there's several ways I tried to get this thing to work. I'm sure it could probably be done with enough time spent and a lot of little tricks, or as I call it, witchcraft, where you're finding tangency and edges of lines using kind of the old-fashioned methods, the old tricks from AutoCAD. But actually, in the new version, I should say the new version, but ViaCAD's big brother, which is the professional version, has a really nice tool in here. I'll show you. That I think really would benefit this particular model, and it's this tool right here, Deform Face, which you won't find this inside ViaCAD 2D, 3D. SharkFX is generally around, I think, $1,700, so it's rather expensive, but still actually not too bad as far as price. You'll see there's a lot of other tools in there too. Sometimes you could get a deal, so they send out discounts and things like that on it. So there are more tools. I suspect it would be easier maybe to build it on there. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to go from the top view now. Now you can import additional views. Like I could go to work plane, front. Okay, and then make sure you set that to front as well. Actually, okay, and here we could see our profile. We could also drop in an image if we have one of what it looks like. Unfortunately, there's not a very good image of the bow that's in here. But if we go to File and Import JPEG, it was provided. Probably the best you're going to get, unfortunately, because it's rather thick. And again, just click on the edge. Oops, make sure you're out of extrude there. And you could resize this. Okay, a little bit bigger. Again, it's very difficult to really see what's going on there. We could bring in the right side view to see the bow in it as well. But this gives us at least something to work with. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to go ahead and drag out this profile here. Follow it. Maybe turn off the grid for the snap, I should say. Oops, somehow I must have accidentally right-clicked. Just delete that. Okay, it doesn't always show up, so you have to make sure that you turn on transparency for this too. It helps for display transparency. You could kind of see through it a little bit better there. Alright, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and make that a solid. The surfacing tools in here are okay. I'm going to go with a solid though, from the perspective that so I can chop it up a little bit. Let's turn on enable points again. Okay. Now I'm going to go to work plane right side, or just side here. View right side. And now let's bring in the next image. Scale it down a little bit. Get it over. You could also grab it from the center, move it. That's pretty easy too. Turn off this. So we can kind of just get it where we want it. And so that's the length there. We're going to try and scale it down a bit more. Actually, I guess that's pretty close. Right, it has a bit of a bow on there. Again, it's going to be kind of hard to follow exactly, but I'll give it a shot here. Just make sure. It's backwards. Flip that. I'm not sure if you could rotate it or flip it 180 degrees, mirror it. Kind of makes for a bit of a challenge there. Actually, this thing has a very slight bow on it. This is something that I would say would take hours to complete, so I'm not going to go through the whole scenario of trying to make it, but as much as I can to kind of lead you down the right road at least on how I would go about maybe building it. Okay, now let me just change this to transparency too. Okay, that might be, could probably get it better if you spend more time on it. Alright, now at this point I'm going to go ahead and try and draw that little curve over the top here. So let me go to View, right side, and let's follow that. Let's see if we could snap it to that curve. Turn off the snaps temporarily while you're trying. Now we do want to try and get all that information in there if we can. Click. If you need to, you could show points and adjust those if you wanted to. I'm going to leave it. Okay, let's see if we could get this now to sweep. Go to the sweep with one guide rail. Okay, sweep in place. Let's right click on that profile. So right click, select chain, and then select our guide curve at the top. And it should have created like a bowed shape there. Could have made it a little bit bigger at the bottom just to make sure it goes all the way around. That's probably what I should have done. But you could fiddle with that if you want. Okay. I actually should make it a bit bigger, or else I won't be able to cut it out properly. So let's turn off one rail sweep. Drag this out. Oops. And then below here, if we change the work plane, global, actually, work plane top. Should probably modify this a bit. It's just not low enough. I thought I had enough room there. Let's see if we can get this to stretch. Just careful not to get too much there. I want it to be larger than that profile there, because we're going to cut that out. Oh, drat. Looks like I had some sort of relationship. Too much select there. There we go. Just be careful. Make sure you're watching what you're moving there, so you don't have any foul-ups. Okay, I think that's better. Now let's try and sweep that. In fact, down a bit. Bring this out. Maybe down just a little bit. Okay, let's try it. Right click on that curve, select chain, and click on the guide curve. Alright. A little bit better there. Okay. Now we can take that profile that we have here and use that to cut it. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this color so it's a little bit different. What we're seeing. Then also I could go layers and create a new layer for it. We'll just call it the solid one. Just click on this twice. Now click on this part and find the layer, solid one. Apply. Now I'm going to hide solid one just for a moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to extrude this out. Also, you might want to hide this curve in the center. Just click on it, hide. Okay. At this point, you can draw out a big circle. Oops. And make sure I reset my work plane, set it back to global. And make a big circle here. And the reason for this is it's going to cut our solid one that we've created. First, we have to go ahead and extrude that. Extrude. Have it go mid-plane. Just to be on the safe side, 6 inches, so it's 3 inches on top, 3 inches on bottom. And let's go ahead and get this to cut. Or actually extrude. We do have the ability to cut solid, but oops. Hold shift and select this, and then right click on this curve here and select chain. Oh, drat. Okay. Not what I wanted. Alright, you know what? We'll just use it. Click on this. Do the same. Use subtract tool and select solid to subtract from. Let's see. We want to put one on the outside. I want to subtract one on the inside. There we go. So now we have a tool. If we bring back solid one, we could go ahead and subtract that. So select solid to subtract from, solid one, and then click on this part. Now what's interesting here is it looks like it's a corrupted solid. I don't see that too often in the software. It uses the ASYS kernel, which is actually a very powerful kernel. So let me, it's really not useful to us if it's like that. Let's undo that. Let's try another method. I'll just delete this. Okay, another thing we can do here, actually let's just make sure that sometimes if it's a 0 thickness edge, if I have it too close, where this wraps around, it's possible that that can cause trouble. We'll try the cut tool. Let's go over here to cut out solid. Okay, select solid for cutout, solid 1. Distance, let's see if we have, I have to offset it. So let's go to work plane, offset. We'll offset it about 5 inches up, -5 or down. Either one works okay. All right, then this. Actually, I guess I didn't have to really offset that. I suppose. You could just drag it down. And now let's go to the cutout solid. Oh wait, no, that won't be it. A tricky one. I'm just tired. Okay, let's see if we can move this down too. Right click on it. Okay, I'm going to try intersect solids. So what I can do is just make that center extrusion. Right click on that, interpolate spline, select chain. Okay, and then what we have here is we have the ability to intersect solid. So we just select both solids and hope that we don't get the same error. And we do. I guess it's really robbing Peter to pay Paul. This is what I'm going to have to work on a little bit. If you are wanting to do this, you could definitely try it. I think it's rather unusual to get a solid error like that in this case. If you were to model it yourself, you might not. The chances are you're not going to get that same type of geometry. So I might have to just redraw it or something, or sketch something out here. But basically, that gets you pretty close here as far as the shape. Now, those little features that you see in there, those cutouts, those are another little trick, and I'll try and share that with you in the future one. But right now, we'll just make this part 1 for this first example of exercise 6. And I apologize, kind of doing this on the fly here. Thank you